So then, climbing wall. I originally was thinking about building a training wall in this back corner of my garage here, so up the wall, out about 45 degrees, and then across the roof for a section. Although there's the realization that actually then I'd have to get rid of a lot of this junk that I have in my garage, or I'd have to keep it much better organised to keep this kind of area below it free. Just seems like a lot of effort. So the other day I was thinking, probably not going to work, but one thing that I do have that I don't really use is my attic. So we've got a decent sized attic. It was one that kind of would look like people wanted to live in it, so they've kind of put the rafters in a nice place, but then it's never got converted. So at the moment, that's what I'm thinking. So let's go up there and have a bit of a look, eh? Welcome to the attic. Sorry for the dubbing, the shot turned out a little bit quiet here. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to go for 6 panels. So 2 along the bottom, 2 in the middle, 2 along the roof section, starting around here somewhere and going all the way along. I did think about going 6 panels over the top, so having it on both sides so I could kind of climb up and over the cave. But actually, in reality, I think that I'd end up getting bored because I'd just be doing the same sections of wall, whereas having a longer wall gives me something to traverse and hopefully it'll keep it interesting. So I hit up B&Q last night. Whew. I happen to have a trade card there. Got myself some 18mm ply and I got some OSB. Seen people talking about using OSB board and then others saying it's not very good, so I decided to try using 2 sheets. It is about 17 quid, whereas these were about 30 quid. So you could maybe make a saving, and because I couldn't find out, I figured if I use them and they work, that's some good information for you guys to have. So I've got 6 sheets of that. The only logistical error is the only way of getting a board into that space is through that window, which is 4 meters off the ground. So we spent a bit of time thinking about it, and we actually realised that the boards could surprisingly be easily passed up. We started off with the thinner boards that look a bit strange. They are 8x4s, but we had them pre-cut before bringing them home at B&Q. The only reason was it just saved us a bit of effort. We knew what size we wanted them. Bearing in mind these boards weigh 30 kilos, and you can see the big sheets do take a bit of effort to get through the window. We decided for the OSB board, which I think weighs 10% or 11% more, would probably be best cutting them up and passing them through the hatch inside using the ladders, just to save me accidentally crushing my lovely girlfriend with a sheet of OSB 3 board. If you do decide to cut the boards up so you can pass them through a hatch, if you are building one in an attic, just make sure you mark the hole spacing. You saw me there beforehand, just work out where actually my holes are going to be for my T-nuts that I'm going to mount the bolts on beforehand. So when you cut them up, you're not just going to cut straight through where you'd actually like a line of bolts. As you can see, way easier this way, and probably would have made more sense to do it all if I wasn't lucky enough to have that window and just be able to get them in that way. So, got everything in the attic. We've got those tools ready to go. The thing we're going to start with is those boards that I had pre-cut. They're already the right size, so it's going to be a case of getting the hole spacings marked in them and then getting them on the wall. So for that, I'm thinking I'm going to do standard moonboard spacing, which is to come 10 centimetres down from the top and then 20 centimetre gaps between holes, and then 15 in from the top left edge and 20 centimetre holes. It does mean that I'm going to have 24 centimetres between that and the next board, but to be honest, I can't be bothered with the maths, can't be bothered to stagger them. I've had a few training walls that are square grid before and it's never actually bothered me that much. So, the board I'm using, 18mm ply or 18mm OSB 3, you're going to need to drill a hole. I decided to go out and buy a nice fancy pointed bit to drill my holes with. This is 12mm. I actually found it very bad for drilling plywood with, it just doesn't seem to bite. So what I resorted to was just using a normal HSS bit. By making them 11mm, it does make them quite hard to get into the hole initially, because it is pretty much exact fit compared to, say, a 13mm hole where you can just slot it in. Where that becomes an advantage is actually it's much harder for it to come back out. The other thing is it can't cockle over in the hole to one side slightly, so actually it makes it way easier to align. Things just kind of go straight in rather than having to sometimes play around. The T-nuts I'm using are pronged, 4-pronged T-nuts. You do get some that have screws in them, they're a lot more expensive, and they are more secure, but actually in reality
taking one board off to adjust a T-nut's not going to be the end of the world, although it'd be annoying. I'm hoping I'll not have to do it just by taking a bit of care. All you do, put it in the hole, give it a thwack. I'll chuck in a video of me doing some for you. So they're my T-nuts. I ordered them from a company called, let's get this up on the screen for you, Westfield Fasteners Limited. Really impressed with the service. Took less than 24 hours to get to me from placing my order, and these come in boxes of 100. I think, well, I ordered 500 and I think it worked out 6.9p each or something, so pretty cheap. You could get them for cheaper if you ordered more. 500 I think is about enough to do 7 panels. Other things to think about ordering are bolts. Again, M10. Get different head size styles. Depends on what your bolts are as to which style you'll need, and depending on the size of your bolt or your holes, depends on how long your bolt's going to be. But that's kind of the fasteners and fixings. There's going to be a lot of time lapse coming up, and it's just because, unfortunately, drilling and T-nutting is a case of copy and repeat. So yeah, let's get through that.
For T-nutting, definitely helps to have a friend, just someone to chat to and to give you a hand. I've known climbing walls to have T-nutting parties where they've supplied beer and snacks in return for people just hammering T-nuts in, so definitely many hands makes light work. Also, when we're putting panels on, makes a big difference to have someone just to help hold things on. We're going for a series of 4 screws down the sides of the board and in every single joist, so we just took the time to mark them up and screw them. Make sure you get your measurements before of where the joists are, because it's so much harder to see once your boards are on. We skip forward here to having 2 panels on the wall. We're going to be loads of skipping forward. I don't see a need to bother showing you guys me drilling and T-nutting every panel. I've noticed my roof's not square here. You can see it's opened up a bit of a gap. It's just aesthetic. I don't really care. It's what it is. It's a training facility. It's not a work of art. The only thing we've had to do that I've not coded is, if you look at the top of the board, I've had to make some little cutouts for where the joists come up to try and keep things kind of in line as possible. So skip forwards. Got another 2 panels on. I'll put the OSB boards at the bottom. I'll let you know how these get on as we use them and work them. It really is a surprisingly speedy process.
It's from top corner, it's similar to get on a moon board, so it's 15 and 20 between all of them. Let's leave these ones closer. That means when you put it up on a wall, you actually get a 24 here and a 20 here. I'm sure you there's different ways of doing it, but that's what I've opted for. And then we've got 10 down from the top and 20 spacing, leaving a 12 gap at the bottom. Unfortunately, I've had to offset the board slightly, and that's just because of where the joists in the roof are actually attached to the rafters, maybe they'd call them. It means that one board is actually offset. I could have just added material onto the side of these on this side here, just to bolt the board, so that actually doesn't bother me at all. It does mean in the centre of all my boards, you can see there I've got a little shifty switch, and the reason they're not squared is just because the roof's not squared.
So fast forward, walls, all the panels are on, just giving it a lick of primer and undercoat, and then I'm going to paint it with some leftover paint from the house. Don't have to paint it. The only reason I'm doing that is just to make it a bit lighter in the attic. Hopefully it'll reflect the light around. You can already see the reflection in the paint, so it looks as though it's doing its job. Yeah, so let's skip forward to another coat in and we'll see how it looks.
So here we go. Paint is dry. As we can see, it's come out fairly white. The OSB board definitely would have maybe benefited a brush rather than the roller, but to be honest, don't really care. It's just a bit to help reflect that light around a little bit, make it seem a bit airier in here. All I've got to do now is to chuck on holes. For those who are interested, the 49 degrees off this piece here is what it's coming in at. For some reason that comes in at 84 degrees. I'm fairly certain it's vertical. I think it's just the calibration in my phone that's off. Only job now is the fun bit, I suppose. I need to get some matting underneath it, and I need to start putting holes on it. I've got a set of moon holes here, a moon board. that I used to have when I was a kid, and I've actually got some holds over here. I think I've got about 120 holds. I've collected over the years, going around climbing walls and just saying, have you got any holds you don't use? And then I was lucky to be at a place I was working. They had a reset, and there was climbing holds that they didn't need anymore. So I managed to pick some up there. For the matting, for the base, for the moment I'm just going to use my bouldering mat. But I intend to keep my eye out on Craigslist, Gumtree, anywhere I can for old mattresses. And I'm just going to pad all this area out with as many mattresses as I can get hold of. And I think that should be pretty good. So on with the good part then, setting the routes. I've decided, as much as I'm going to set routes, I'm not really going to set too many. My plan is just to make as many holds kind of usable. I did think about just chucking all the holds I had on the board, but I've seen where that kind of ends up just quite awkward in the past. So my plan is I'm going to go through, try and kind of make things that link together, things that look fun. I am going to provoke myself a traverse across with my moon holds and things like that. But all in all, I'm not really going to town. My plan is to leave kind of a bag of holds. So after I've finished setting, I think I have 80 left. A mixture of kind of every size. And the plan will be when friends come round, at least we'll have something to play with. We'll be able to put some routes up, have a little bit of a challenge, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, brilliant, done, super easy. Can't really complain. All I've got to do now is really climb on it. Any questions about anything, feel free to ask. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed watching. Have fun, bye.